Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. Always fun when Michael Avenatti joins us in studio. And JD, you alluded to this in the last segment. Why don't you tell people the special guest we have tomorrow if you are a political junkie? Interesting guy with an interesting past.
We have Republican presidential candidate Mark Sanford on tomorrow.
I wonder if he's in the Appalachians taking a hike.
He could be.
I don't know.
It's
Well,
very
listen,
possible.
we appreciate the fact he's going to be.
Sometimes you just have to disappear for a week to South America.
Yes, well, we'll interesting guy. So I'm actually looking forward to speaking with him tomorrow. He'll be joining us on the show, and we appreciate all the guests that have come on thus far. And, it takes some guts to get in the ring with Michael, and Danny Tarkanian and Pat Cassell did a good job, and we appreciate them for doing that and for Michael taking the time to come in studio. He's got to catch a flight. He had to skate. We'll get to UNLV hoops here in just a second, but before I get to UNLV basketball, interesting story. If you are a Vegas Golden Knights fan, you probably don't like the San Jose Sharks very much. We recall what happened in the playoffs last year, the sham, and this is a true rivalry. There's no question about that. And one of the guys on this San Jose Sharks team that is not liked by Reeves and many of the Golden Knights players is Evander Kane. So if you are not an Evander Kane fan, you might like this story, a story that just came out. We are learning that the NHL's Evander Kane with the San Jose Sharks now owes upwards of $500,000 in gambling casino markers. The Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas has filed a lawsuit this week in the Clark County District Court alleging that Kane has failed to pay them $500,000 in markers. This is a guy, this extended him back in April, by the way. So I guess the court documents are stating that this guy took 8 credits of varying amounts between $20,000 and $100,000 on or about April 15th. That date would have fallen between Games 3 and Games 4 of the Stanley Cup first-round playoff series. The Cosmos also seeks a repayment of legal fees associated with the lawsuit. Kane has signed a 7-year deal with the Sharks in 2018 worth $49 million. So you think he would take care of this. Now, $500,000 is a lot of money. First of all, the fact that this guy hasn't even paid these markers is ridiculous. Just, Evander, this is embarrassing. Now everybody knows that you have a gambling problem and you are a horrible gambler. If you just paid off your markers, this story would have never gotten out there and the Cosmo wouldn't have even been allowed to talk about it. But now that you haven't paid your markers, and it is amazing to me that during the NHL playoffs, and make no mistake about it, Evander Kane is an unbelievable player. He's an all-star. He's a fantastic player. Say what you want about the guy. He's a great player, great hockey player. The fact that he is playing whatever he's playing, craps, blackjack, you name it. I mean, imagine it was table games. He's getting markers, right? It's not slot machines. The fact that you are going on a gambling binge and losing $500,000 during the first round of the NHL playoffs to me is ridiculous.
Right, and you're winning. And you beat the Knights.
Yeah.
What's that say about the Knights?
Well, I think it says a little bit about him, though.
Evander, if you're gonna gamble $500,000, give me $250,000. We'll bet some baseball. I'll turn it in about 1.4 in maybe 2 or 3 months, and I mean that I'm one of the best baseball bettors in the country, Evander. Don't do the table games. Don't do the low advantage games. Bet some sports, just not hockey. We'll make that work.
We need to get Reeves on the line here and ask him what he thinks about this, because you remember Reeves and Kane have had this ongoing feud for a while now, and they got into this big brawl if you recall, during Game 3 of the 2019 playoffs, and this was around the exact same time that these markers were being put out to Evander Kane. This is a very serious thing. If you remember, it wasn't that long ago, Charles Barkley owed a lot of markers. This is one of those things where this isn't a credit card we're talking about here, okay? This isn't, a landlord situation or, owing a friend a debt. You don't want to F with the casinos, okay? Because if you F with the casinos, they are going to F you back, okay? This is a very serious situation. If you owe markers to a casino, you're going to get your ass thrown in jail.
And a double F, not just a single. You
Exactly.
They'll double F you on the other side. But, on the bright side of things for Evander Kane, he does make $7 million a year.
He makes a lot of money.
So he should be able to pay the state, and that's why he got the markers.
So $7 million a year when you take away the taxes. What is he clearing, you think? 4, 4.5?
Probably 4.3 or 4.4
Okay,
in
so-
California.
So this is still 15, maybe 20%
Yeah,
of
I
his
mean,
overall
That's
yearly salary.
But he's been in the league. He signed a $49 million contract with a signing bonus, so he's probably got a net worth in the $30 to $40 million range. I mean, it's still 2 or 3% of his net worth. It's a bit over the top.
Let me ask you this:
to be doing something like a high risk situation like a table game.
If you lose 15 to 20%, I mean, obviously I'm guilty of this. If you lose 15 to 20% of your yearly salary, okay, you might have a gambling problem. You might. I think he's not very intelligent. Let's just start at that. He's not very smart.
I would say that that's the definition of being a degenerate gambler. Because
How
again,
dumb are you, though?
You're playing a low advantage game like that. You just want the thrill.
Yeah.
It's all about the rush for you. It's all about the adrenaline, either making or losing the money.
How dumb are you, though?
Evander, be smart. Bet some sports. Just not hockey.
No, but even if he just was willing to have a good time and he didn't care and he wanted to throw away $500,000, the fact that he didn't pay it off shows you his stupidity.
Right.
How dumb is Evander Kane as a human being?
You know, he could have been trying to impress a couple of girls.
And that's fine. That's his prerogative.
He could have been, trying to make himself look like he has more money than he does,
JD,
even though he has a lot.
But, JD, that's fine. That's his prerogative. I mean, I wouldn't personally spend that kind of money, but, he's got a lot of money. But that's his prerogative. That's not where my issue is here. My issue is pay your debt. What are you doing? You know you have $500,000 in markers. Why are you waiting until they make this a publicity thing now? Or I shouldn't say publicity, it's bad PR, but why would you now wait until they make it a story and now we all know you're a moron? Pay your markers. I don't understand it. Charles Barkley is another guy. Barkley admits that he is a degenerate gambler. Okay, he goes to Vegas all the time. He blows a lot of money. But Barkley did the exact same thing. He didn't pay off the markers, and they went after him. This is a very serious thing, and people have gone to jail over this sort of stuff. Luckily, guys like Charles Barkley and Evander Kane, they have a lot of money, so they're going to be able to pay this stuff off.
So,
but if you owe like a $10,000 marker and you don't pay it off, you can go to jail.
Well, get this. The markers he got were 80, 100, 80, 40, 20, 10, 100. I mean, he just kept getting more and more. I mean, it's kind of like Joe Pesci in Casino,
One of my favorite scenes in any movie, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. I love that scene.
And then he takes the phone and hits Don Rickles with it.
Yeah.
That was tough.
That was one of my favorite scenes.
So who do you think has the worst gambling problem between Evander Kane, Charles Barkley, and John Daly?
John Daly, because John Daly has admitted that he's lost over $55 million.
But he always paid his debts.
John Daly, but you didn't ask me that. You said who has the bigger gambling problem. That has nothing to do with paying off your debts and everything to do with how much money have you lost. John Daly is now selling T-shirts and John Daly memorabilia in his, what would you call, one of those mobile homes. He goes from some of these tournaments and he's selling. He used to spend $5,000 a pull. There were slot machines. They used to have those in Vegas. $5,000 a pull slot machines. So, no question, John Daly. He said it in his book. He's lost over $50 million in his lifetime betting, and he also let that affect his golf because he would go to these events, not just in Vegas, but I remember one time. This is a true story. I'm going to give you a quick John Daly story here real quick, a degenerate John Daly story. I was living in Connecticut at the time.
I love these.
This is the time when John Daly was on the PGA Tour, and he was making cuts. He was doing all right. But he was at the ladder of his PGA Tour career. This was in a tournament in Connecticut. I believe at the time it was called the Greater Hartford Open. I'm about a mile down the road. I'm headed to the event, okay? And I stop at a gas station with my dad. I think I was 18 years old, 19 years old. Me and my dad were heading out to the event. I think it was a Thursday, and it was around 1 p.m. John Daly had teed off at around 8 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. We stop at this gas station, and all of a sudden I see John Daly in the gas station scratching off these scratch-off tickets. He's just sitting there, and I'm not exaggerating. I'll always remember this. There must have been, I'm not exaggerating, 200 or 300 tickets just lying there. He's just sitting there scratching off tickets, smoking a cigarette. And I looked at him. I said, hey, he wanted nothing to do with us because he was in his gambling mode, scratching off tickets. So I asked the cashier, because I had gone back later that day because we wanted to know exactly how much money he spent. The cashier said he spent over $2,000 on scratch-off tickets. Some of these are $1 scratch-off. Some of these are $5 scratch-off tickets. So I always remember that. Again, I was like 18, 19 years old. So I think with some of these professional athletes or former professional athletes, they have that competitive fire in their belly, and it gives them a release. We know John Daly has had a lot of issues with alcohol. drinking, eating habits.
Prostitution.
He's had a lot of issues in his life.
Basically, every single vice that Vegas offers you, or offers the average tourist or resident, John Daly has lived that for the better part of 20 years.
But going back to Evander Kane, if the guy's willing to spend $500,000 and lose it in a few days in Vegas and then not pay the markers, it leads me to believe that he probably most likely lives a reckless life. And this isn't the only reckless behavior, certainly. But anyway, we wish Evander Kane luck. We really do, Evander. But guess what? If you don't pay your markers, you belong in jail. You ain't going to be on the San Jose Sharks much longer.
And not only that, man, hey, you have the money. You're getting paid $7 million a year.
Absurd.
You made a stupid decision. Live with it. Pay your debts. Otherwise, you're going down.
Evander, pay your debts, my friend. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about what took place at the Thomas and Mack Center last night. UNLV Hoops, my thoughts on that, and my opinions after watching the team play an actual regular season game, where I think this team could go this year, my thoughts on T.J. Otzelberger. That and much more. We'll get to that coming up next. You're listening to The Vegas Tape.